Well, good morning, 8:30. How are you guys? Hey, it's a good crew in here. Like when we started, I've been up front. I don't know if you know, I'm up front. So, a lot of you were late today because there was nobody in the room really. And now you're here, and I'm not knocking on you. I'm just glad that you guys are here. And listen, church is a good place to be, isn't it? Man, I'm just glad to be here today, and I don't know if we're going to have all this snow or not. I had two different reports in the lobby. I had people tell me, it's all going to be rain, Joel. It's just going to be rain. Then I heard it's going to be 2 feet, Joel. 2 feet of snow. All I know is my kids aren't going back to school for like a month, all right? It doesn't matter if it rains or snows. Kids aren't going to be in school forever, all right? So prepare yourself, parents. But I'm glad you guys are here before whatever happens out there. And I want to shout out everybody who's maybe here for the first time. If you've never been in our church before, we think it's so good that you're here. We love that you're in our basement. And my name is Joel. I'm the campus pastor here. I would love to meet you after this service. I'll be out in the lobby. Just stop by and say hello. I'm going to give you a gift, a big old bag of Fisher's popcorn. And listen, you first timers, you got to come get this popcorn. Because if I'm stuck in my house for the next week in snow and I got Fisher's popcorn, I got no self-control. Okay, so come get this, and we're glad you're here. A big shout out to everybody who's not here. Maybe you stayed home because you weren't sure about things. Maybe you're just out of town. However you're tuning in, we just love our online family. So can we just put our hands together for our onliners, our first timers? Thank you guys for tuning in. So here's how I want to start today. I have a buddy in my neighborhood. His name is Scott, and we have a picture of my buddy Scott. We'll throw up on the screen. All right, so Scott is the guy in the back right-hand corner. This is in the summer. We were playing pickleball together. Now, I said this Scott's my buddy. He's my buddy except when we play pickleball. Scott smokes me. This is not an exaggeration. He smokes me every single time, and then every single time after he beats me, he asks me how old I am. And then he reminds me that he is 70 years old. And then he does this whole bit when he says, hey, Joel, I'm going back to the nursing home. I'll see you later. And I will be mad, but that's funny, okay? Like, that's funny. What's not funny is he has told my entire neighborhood that I'm a better preacher than I am a pickleball player. And I'm like, thanks. I think. I don't really know how to take that, all right? But Scott is my buddy, and Scott is actually down in Florida right now. So, if Scott, you're watching this, shout out to you. But Scott asked me the other day, he was like, hey, I'm going to Florida. Will you get my mail for me? And I was like, listen, you made a lot of jokes about me, all right? So, you're asking for a favor now. No, but I've been getting Scott's mail. And going to get the mail has made me think about getting the mail back in the day. You remember back in the day when going to get the mail was exciting because you were too young to get bills? Who remembers this? And maybe you're as old as me. And when I would go get the mail, like back in the day, you used to get catalogs in the mail that were the size of a Cadillac. You remember those? And I always loved it when we get the Sears catalog. We would get Boscov's catalogs. My personal favorite was Toys R Us catalogs. Come on. And if you wanted something out of a catalog back before the internet, you had to fill out like a mail form, or you could call them on your landline. And in as short as, 3 to 4 months, you would get that Super Soaker 3000 water gun you've been dreaming for forever. And so if you wanted that for the summer, you had to order that back in January. Isn't that true? And so I remember going out to our mailbox and always getting the mail. Now, when I was growing up, next to our mailbox, we had the newspaper box. Anybody have one of those? Okay, my dad always got the News Journal newspaper, and I always loved the way it smelled, which is probably what's wrong with me, because I was always smelling the newspaper like, I never really looked in the newspaper when I was a kid, except on Fridays, the News Journal had this section called 55 Hours. Which would tell you like what movies were playing in the local movie theater. So I would be like, I want to see 55 Hours because the movie My Girl is out. Like, is it a good movie? And of course it's a good movie. It's got Macaulay Culkin in it. Come on. And so I remember I never knew what was in the headlines. I just knew that on Friday I knew what movie was playing at the Midway Theater. Plus, when I was a kid growing up, I don't know if 24/7 news networks existed yet or if we didn't just watch them in our house. Like, that wasn't on in our house. I'm a preacher's kid. Any preacher's kids in the room? Okay, all right, so maybe you know this. Maybe some of you know this or have experienced this. In our house, we didn't watch 24/7 news. We watched this channel called the Trinity Broadcasting Network 24/7. TBN. How many of you remember TBN? Some of you are like, what is TBN? I don't even know. It maybe still exists. I don't know. Okay, it's TBN. I'm a preacher's kid, so that's Christian TV. And not just any Christian TV, weird Christian TV. It's all like mascara and crying. And so I remember like that was on our TV all the time. And I didn't want to watch it, so I just smelled the newspaper instead of watching that, okay? But I never knew what was going on the news because we didn't watch 24/7 news in our house. I never knew what was going on in the newspaper because I just looked at 55 hours. But now I feel like I can't get away from the news. Anybody else feel like that? And everything I see, every headline I see is bad news, it feels like, all right? So like, this poor grandma who got like kidnapped in Arizona, this is terrible. This Epstein stuff, just terrible. Then last week, the Canadians apparently cheated in the Olympics. Did you see this, Olympic curling? I've never been so invested in curling in my life. And the first time I saw the clip, it was like Canadians cheated in it. I'm like, that was not on my bingo card. Canadians are the nicest people you've ever met, okay? But apparently this guy like touched the little thing with his finger, and I didn't know it at first, and then I was like looking for it. I'm like, look, he touched it. He touched it. I saw it. They're cheating, okay? So anyway, most of you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But isn't it true that every single headline feels like it's shouting lions and tigers and AI, oh my? Everybody say that. Lions and tigers and AI. Oh my. That's what it feels. Listen, it feels like every single headline is just scary and bad. And listen, maybe it's not just the headlines on TV. Maybe the headline in your life right now is lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Because I bet you, my little ankle-biting chihuahua, you got something going sideways in your life right now, don't you? And when that happens, when things are going sideways in our life and the headlines in our life are kind of bad, we start thinking, listen, I have had enough of this. And so one of the things I've noticed, I've been a pastor here for 13 years, is I've noticed that every single Sunday, some of you all are on a winning streak in your life. And every single Sunday, some of you are on a losing streak in your life. And these two things happen together, combined, every single Sunday when we're together in church. Last Sunday was a great example of it. So you know that thing that I do at the end of my message where I pray and then I magically disappear? You know that? And like you open your eyes after the prayer and there's a different guy here, Pastor Nate. And a lot of you are like, I'm 87% sure that's a different guy. Okay, it is. It's Nate. It's not magic. I just, when I'm praying, I just walk and go into our lobby to talk to our first time guest. But pretend like you don't know when we do that today, because Nate always likes it when you're surprised when you open your eyes. So anyway, do that for him. But last Sunday for 11 o'clock service, I did the whole walk, pray thing, and I walked out into our lobby, and I happened to see on our lobby TV that there was a couple, Allie and Mike. They were on the stage getting engaged at the end of the 11 o'clock service. Now, did I know this was going to happen? No, I'm just the pastor here, But they were really getting engaged, and thank goodness that Allie said yes, and so we have their picture that we'll put up on the screen. Okay, this is them after the service. Come on, let's give it up for them. I think church is a pretty good place to get engaged, if you ask me. But they're on a winning streak right here. Now, while that was happening, I was talking to somebody else in the lobby who was barely holding it together. There was tears in this person's eyes, and they were basically like, listen, this week was so hard on me. I barely even made it to church today. I'm just really struggling right now. And these two things were happening at the exact same time. Why? Because every single Sunday, some of you are all on a winning streak in your life. And every single Sunday, some of us are on a losing streak in our life. Now, if you are on a winning streak in your life right now, I am so psyched for you. All right, my kids, this is what they would say about you. We are all jelly of you. Jelly is jealousy, okay? We're jealous of you. I'm learning a whole different language in my house right now. But for real, I love that you're on a winning streak in your life. But if you're on a losing streak in your life and you're just like, listen, I have had enough of this, I love that you're in church today. This is a good place to be when you're on a losing streak. And I want to say this, okay? All right. When we don't feel like we have enough, that's where God does his best work. Because when we are weak, what is he? He is strong. And so today's message, I'm calling it this, okay? I don't have enough. And I want you to turn to your neighbor and say, lions and tigers and AI, oh my. Just tell them I'm going to get this phrase in our language. Okay, so right now we're in this series, right in the middle of the series called Protege. It's a 3-week series where we're looking at a Bible legend, Elijah's protege. Anybody remember the name of this protege? You said it first, and you won't eat this, but I'm giving you a Reese's egg, which, there you go, right there. That's a little cross promotion. Listen, Easter is coming up, everybody. We're going to do our earliest Easter service time ever at Bay Shore this year. And I will tell you, more is coming soon. I'll tell you more information on that soon. But Elisha. Everybody say Elisha. So he's the protege we talked about last weekend. When we meet him, like he's this bald, rich kid who's a farmhand. But Elisha ends up doing more miracles than anybody else in the entire Bible outside of Jesus. And so today we're going to look at one of the most famous miracles he does for this poor lady who is definitely on a losing streak, and she has definitely had enough. And so let me show you. This is in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 1. It says, one day the widow of a member of the group of prophets came to Elisha. She cried out, "My husband who served you, Elisha, is dead, and you know how he feared the Lord. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my 2 sons as slaves." Now, let's just kind of break this down. We don't know how her husband died, all right? But what we know is this poor widow, her husband worked for Elisha. He loved God, and he got the family in debt up until their eyeballs right before he passed away. And if you think like debt creditors today are bad, the 9th century BC debt collectors have entered the chat. Because they are coming for this lady's kids to pay off the Visa card, okay? To put them in slavery, to pay off the Visa card. Now, some of you are getting ideas. You're like, you think my kids could go work for Visa to pay off the Visa card? But she is on a losing streak. Everybody say losing streak. So, talk about not having enough. She has no husband. She has no money. She's got no hope. Debt collectors are coming for the kids. But this is what Elisha says, and I love this. This is in verse 2. Elijah replied to her, "How can I help you?" And if you are ever like talking to somebody who's in a really bad spot, a great question to ask them is genuinely ask them, "How can I help you?" Like, what do you need right now? How can I help you? So Elijah says, "How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?" Now, hang on to everything this widow says, okay? She says, "Your servant has nothing there at all." She said, "Except a small jar of olive oil." Now, I don't want to knock on a widow. This would be terrible to knock on a widow, but do you really think all she has in her house is a jar with a little bit of oil in it? You're telling me this lady doesn't got a bunch of knickknacks from Home Goods in her house? You're telling me her shower doesn't have 1,000 shampoo bottles up in there? There's not a yapping chihuahua up in there. Listen, if you think that this lady, all she has in her house is just a bottle with a little bit of olive oil in there, listen, I got some oceanfront property in Arizona I would love to sell you. So what is really happening? Here's what's happening. We'll put this on the screen. Fear is warping her reality. Fear is making her freak out. Or as my boy Nixon says 700 times a day, she's crashing out, Dad. She is crashing out. Which makes me think about the siding on my house. Okay, so a few months ago, it was a windy night. I have a tree near my house, and one of the tree branches fell off that tree, and it hit my house, and it put this giant hole in my siding. Now, let me tell you what I know about vinyl siding. That's it. You just heard all I know about vinyl siding. I don't know nothing about vinyl siding. All I know is I got a giant hole in the side of my house. So I start freaking out. I'm like, water's going to get behind the house or behind the siding. It's going to start rotting out the wood in there. And then I'm going to get mold on the outside of the house, then on the inside of the house. Then my little yapping chihuahua's going to be licking the mold. He's going to start throwing up all over the place. The house is probably going to cave in. Our family's going to be homeless. This is bad. Okay, I am freaking out. So I call my best friend, Bo Dukes. Some of you know him as Bo Stinking Dukes. He used to be our worship leader here. And I'm like, "Bo, I got a hole in the side of my house. It's huge. We're all going to die." And he's like, "What's happening?" I'm like, "I got a hole. Big old giant." And so he's like, "Listen, just FaceTime me right now." So I FaceTimed him, and he said, "Show me the hole." And then I showed him, and he laughed. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "That's a 1-inch little crack." And he said, "Plus, because of where it's located on your house, water is never going to get behind like something." I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. And all I said is, "How do you know?" And he said, "Because I built your house. This is what I do." And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's probably true. And he explained why it wasn't a problem where it was located, and I would explain it to you, but I didn't understand any of it. And he said to me, he's like, listen, I'll tell you, go get an extra piece of siding over there. If you're worried about it, you can get a piece of siding over here in Lewis. And he said, get a $5 little zip tool, and you or anybody could fix this in 20 minutes or less. I'm like, listen, I'm not just anybody. I'm a pastor. I can take a 20-minute job and turn it into a 2-day job that costs me $2,000 because I mess up more things. Anyway, I was freaking out. Isn't it true that fear warps our reality? And it's not just, that's just how we feel. Okay, yeah, it warps our reality. That is research has proven that. Do you know 85% of the things that you're scared of, you're worried about right now, 85% of those things will never happen? And I know some of you are like, well, but 15%. That same research shows that of the 15% of the things you're afraid of happening, if they do happen, 79% of those times it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be. And so fear warps our reality. And so when things are going sideways, our fear starts going haywire in our lives. And I don't know any more about fixing haywire in our lives than I know about fixing siding on my house. But here's what I do know, okay? And we'll put this on the screen. Fear doesn't just exaggerate. Fear lies. Fear doesn't just exaggerate. Fear lies. Sorry. But the good news is God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and of a sound mind. And so we got this poor widow. She's got a spirit of fear. Maybe you got that right now. And she doesn't have enough help to fix this. She doesn't have enough money to fix this. She doesn't have enough know-how to fix this. But she does have a little something. She does have a little bit of oil. A jar. Now this is from Aldi, because that's where Jesus obviously would have shopped, obviously. But listen, got a little bit of oil in here. I can do a lot with a little bit of oil. Okay, I can cook with a little bit of oil. I can light a little oil lamp with a little bit of oil. I have a little squeaky door hinge on one of our bathrooms. Okay, glory to God. I can fix it with a little bit of oil. I can tame down the frizziness of my hair with a little bit of oil. Don't make any jokes. You can do a lot with a little bit of oil. This week I asked AI, I was like, how many things can you do with a little bit of oil? And this is what it told me, okay? Oil has 10 personal care uses, 12 household maintenance hacks, 8 kitchen and cooking tricks, and 10 cleaning fixes. That's 40 things. And so if you feel like, hey, I don't have enough to get through what I'm going through right now, or I don't have enough of what I need to get through what I'm facing right now, we'll put this on the screen. When you're willing to combine the little you got with all that God's got, you got more than you think you got. When you're willing to combine the little bit you got with all that God's got, you got more than you think you got. Some of you need to take a picture of this right now, because this is where you're at. You don't feel like you have enough. You have more than you think you have. You might be a parent right now and you're like, listen, I got barely any patience left. These kids are driving me crazy. I got a little bit of patience, but not much. Maybe you own your own business and you got more work than you do time. You're like, I just got a little bit of time, if even that. Maybe you're like that person I was talking to last Sunday, and it's like, hey, I barely even got through this week. Like, it took all I could do to get my little self here to church today. But here's the thing. A little in God's hands goes a long way. God has a proven track record of doing a lot with a little. Let me show you some examples. We'll put this on the screen. All right, one day, there was a little shepherd boy named David. And he was facing a literal giant named Goliath, okay? And all this little shepherd boy had was a little slingshot and 5 little stones. And here's the thing. God didn't need 5 little stones. God needed 1 little stone. And with 1 little stone, David, little shepherd boy, took this slingshot and he killed Goliath. Why? Because God can do a lot with little. One day, Jesus was in front of 5,000 hangry dudes. And these guys, they wanted to eat. And to feed 5,000 hangry dudes, you would need to get, that like army truck out in front of Mission Barbecue? Like they would need to bring over the army truck. And it would be the biggest catering event that Mission Barbecue has ever done in their life. But they didn't have a Mission Barbecue army truck back in, 00 AD. They had Jesus. And Jesus found a little boy who had a little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lunchbox. And in there he had 5 little breadsticks and 2 little fish sticks. And Jesus did one of the greatest miracles of all time with just a little bit. Why? Because God can do a lot with a little. And now, if I were you, this is what I would say. Okay, Joel, that's great, but I don't have quite the same amount of faith as Bible legend David and the Jesus. That's actually a good point. I didn't think about that. But do you have a little bit of faith, maybe the size of a mustard seed? Because the Bible says you have just that amount of faith, you can literally move a mountain. And here's what I want to tell you. You have the faith the size of a mustard seed. You want to know how I know? Because you're here. You are here. You already passed the mustard seed faith test. Because you are here. God can do a lot with little. Now, back to the story. Elisha asked this widow, what do you got? And she says, I got a teeny tiny little oil left. Now, watch this. This is in verse 3. Elisha said, okay. Go around and ask all your neighbors. Ask all your who? Ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Now, let me just pause here. We're going to go on in a second. But let me just do a side note here. When you need help, you need to go ask. When you don't feel like you have enough, you need to be able to go ask for help. One of the things that I heard somebody say one time is even the Lone Ranger needed Tonto. And you are not the Lone Ranger, okay, that needs to not have anybody. You need Tonto. And so if you don't have enough, you need to go ask a neighbor. You need to ask somebody for help. And this is going to sound weird coming from a pastor, but I think sometimes the only thing we do is pray. And I'm going to say this. You can take this. If you take this, isolate this, it's going to sound really bad, but just listen to me. Don't just pray. Don't just pray. I think sometimes when we just pray, that reveals that we got pride. Don't just pray. Go and ask somebody for help. When you don't have enough, be the Lone Ranger and get Tonto to help you. So anyway, Elijah says you need to go ask your neighbors. All right, let's keep going. Elijah said, go around, ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't just ask for a few. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. And then pour oil into all the jars. And as each is filled, put it to one side. So she left him and she shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her son, bring me another one. But he replied, there's not a jar left. Then the oil stopped flowing. She went and told the man of God, and he said, go, sell the oil and pay all your debts. You and your sons can now live on what is left. Such a cool story. Now, I want to have fun with this. If you're okay to have fun, you're the 11 o'clock. Can we have some fun? Yeah. Okay. So first off, what does this lady have? She has a bottle with, a little bit of oil. So we're not even full. We have a little bit of oil. And then Elijah says, hey, go to all your neighbors and get some jars. Now, I messed up today, and I came here, and I forgot to bring jars for this illustration. So maybe, I don't know, did anybody bring some jars that you could help me? Does anyone have anything you could help? Oh, you brought Prime to church? Is that to stay awake? It's okay, no offense. Anybody else have? A Fisher's popcorn? Bucket, come on. Thank you, sir. I'll take that. Kristen, you brought an empty milk jug. That's weird to bring to church. But I could use it. Okay, I'm going to take that. Do you have something, Matt? Oh, you brought Frank's hot sauce by the gallon? This is great. Who knew they even, can you get a pump for the top of this? Like, okay, all right, I need a crate. You guys are really helping me out a lot. Okay, we're going to dump some stuff in here. Anybody else got anything that, listen, you guys got so much, okay? Salsa, you brought empty salsa to church? Praise God for you. Big gulp. I feel that in my soul. Okay. Oh, can you pass that down? Do you mind passing that down? A pitcher. Do you work at Applebee's? Okay, I could get more, but this is a lot of stuff. Okay. Listen, I got some empty jars now and then one full jar. All right, so now we got what we need. We got some Franks. We got some Fishers, this thing. We got a big gulp cup. We got some milk jugs, Prime, salsa. We got some jugs. We got some empty bottles now, don't we? Yeah. And so this lady, she collects all the stuff from her neighbors because when you don't have enough, you got to go to your neighbors and ask for some help. But then she gets her 2 kids. Now her 2 kids at this point, they got MasterCard and Visa tattooed to their foreheads, all right? They are going to be working for MasterCard and Visa. But she brings them and she's like, hey, come inside the house. God told me that I need to take a little bit of olive oil and I need to fill up all these with the olive oil. Now, if I'm her kid, I'm like, listen, Mom, did you just get a medical marijuana card? Are you high right now? That is not going to work. But she's like, listen, God told me to just use a little bit of what we got, and he's going to take care of us. And so she starts pouring. And she keeps pouring, and she keeps pouring, and she had to empty this one out to even get anything in there. So the franks went away, poured some oil in there, She filled all of this, and the oil never ran out. Now you might be like, no, it ran out. No, it didn't run out. What ran out is the empty jars. The oil never ran out. God's miracle never ran out. And so she just didn't have enough jars. It kind of reminds me of all you can eat blue crabs. Come on, if you love some of those fresh out the steamer, covered in Old Bay, all you can eat blue crabs, just shout melted butter or raise a hanky or something up in the room. And listen, bringing up like all you can eat crabs in February, basically you could find a new church if that's kind of like a messed up thing to do, right? And so I love all you can eat crabs, okay? Actually, if I'm going to be honest with you, and this is going to kind of like make you lose your respect for me, I like snow crab legs better. Come on, who likes snow crab legs better? Oh, glory to God. That's the right answer, but we just lost the respect of some people. But I take our staff to go eat blue crabs once a year to just kind of celebrate them, and I'm 99% sure that's why Nate is still on staff, actually. But I thought before I took our staff to go eat blue crabs, I thought my smoking hot wife could eat. She's a little tiny, beautiful Stacy. She could eat more crabs than anyone I've ever met in my life. When we were dating, I took her to Old Mill, and she had crab claws in her hair. She made this like vinegar, butter, Old Bay mixture. She's got her into her elbows. I'm like, I don't know if I should run or if I should marry this girl right now. And I'm thankful I married her. But I've never seen anybody eat crabs like Stacy until I ate crabs with my man, Pastor Nate. The first time I ate crabs with Nate didn't talk. Have you ever seen Nate not talking? No. Go eat crabs with him. He won't say a word, okay? He is in all business mode. And so this is a picture from the last time we went to the Old Mill this past fall. And this is Nate literally got a crab claw in his mouth. Mr. Jay Jackson, and Jay's in the back. He's 8 foot tall. I'm afraid of Jay, so I'm not going to make fun of Jay. But these 2 boys went hard at the end of the table. They were eating. I thought blue crabs were going to be extinct. I thought the Old Mill was going to go bankrupt. They just kept eating crabs. And any moment they opened up like a little bit of space on the table, the server will come and she start raining more crabs on the table. I'm like, how many crabs you all got back there? And I was thinking, I need to go home. Like, I'm tired. And they just kept eating. And the Old Mill never ran out of crabs, did they? Nope. But Nate and Jay ran out of an appetite. They just ran out. And so anyway, I was grateful for that because I wanted to go home. But here's my point. When you don't have enough, but you open up space for God in your life, that gives him room to pour in his love and his joy and his peace and his comfort. And he can go all day long and never quit pouring out his goodness. And so here's the thing. When you don't feel like you got enough, God always has more than enough. Always. Okay, the Bible says that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. So he owns the cattle. And he owns the 1,000 hills because he made the cattle and he made the 1,000 hills. So he owns the cattle and he owns the 1,000 hills. And that's just a picture of saying God owns it all. He has more than enough. And so there's a catch though. God can't make it rain his blessings on us if we don't make space for him. And so you got to make space for him in your problems if you want him to pour in his power. You got to make space for him in your limited resources if you want him to pour out his unlimited resources. You got to make space for him in your impatience if you want God to pour in his patience. You got to make space for him in your busyness if you want God to pour out his blessing. You got to make space for God in your hurting if you want him to pour out his healing. But if you'll make space for him, listen, he will make it rain on you. That's what he does. He never runs out, okay? And so I just want you to know that when you open up space and you show your weakness, it gives space for God to show you his strength. And if you walked in here today and you don't feel like you have enough, I walked in here today to tell you God is more than enough. Now, let's play a game. This game, we're going to call this game, Who Was Part of This Miracle? The Game. And this game sounds just like the name, okay? I want you to tell me anybody and everybody who was a part of making this miracle happen in the story. I don't have any more Reese eggs, so this is for free. But somebody, just tell me who was a part of this miracle happening? Somebody said the neighbors. Okay, there you go. Elisha, okay. Who? The debt collector. I didn't even think about that. There you go. They're part of this story. The son. The sons. What'd you say? The lady. Okay, the widow. All right. God. What's that? Yep. Elijah. There it is. The best answer was the first answer. Or at least not the best answer. The answer I wanted to come back to is the first answer. The neighbors. And here's my question for you. Could God have done this without the neighbors? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Follow-up question. This one's important. Could the widow have done this without the neighbors? No. And so this is an important part about God. Whenever we don't feel like we have enough, God made it so that we don't just need him. We need each other. I'm gonna end with this. I started as a pastor here 13 years ago. And I found out within about 2 Sundays that, this is not easy. I need some help. Because at the very start, all right, I wasn't just the pastor. I was the pastor. I was the door greeter. I was the security team. I was the media team. I was the kids director. I was, when somebody did something nasty in the bathroom, I was the toilet plunger. Just call me Pastor Toilet Plunger. That's who I was. And so, I found out real quick, listen, I need some help. I don't have enough to do this all myself. And so one of the things I did after one Sunday of hard preaching and plunging, I called my best friend and the guy who helped me with my siding, Bo Stinkin' Dukes. And the reason I called Bo is because when I was offered this job, I called him and he told me to take the job. And so I was like, listen, you got me into this mess, so I need your help. And many of you know, for the next 10 years, Bo came and was our worship leader. And we had some great times here at the church. And we have a picture or some pictures of me and Bo. My favorite one is this with our kids in the baby Bajorn. Nixon is way too old to be in a baby Bajorn, but we had a lot of fun with that. But I had Bo down here. And listen, for 10 years, Bo and we did church together and we plunged toilets together. That's what we did. And so some of you know, let me say this. Over the years, over that 10-year period, Bo told me, probably close to 100 times, he would say to me all the time, Joel, you know, part of the thing that God has asked me to do is he wants me to be the person who raises your hands for you. Hold your hands up when you're tired so you can keep fighting the good fight. And he would just tell me that. I'm here to raise your hands and keep your hands lifted up so that you can keep fighting the good fight. And I'm here to do that even if we're plunging toilets together. This is what we do together. And I'm so thankful for Bo Stinkin' Dukes being the person who helped raise my hands up. Now, many of you know that a few years ago, Bo retired as our worship leader, and he's actually over helping his dad's church in Laurel with worship now. We're still best friends, but Bo calls me every single week. And 2 weeks ago, he called me, and first thing he said is, how can I pray for you? And the second thing he said is, hey, I know I'm not doing church with you anymore because I'm helping my dad, but he said, my goal is still to be the person who raises your hands up when you need to fight the good fight. And so he's like, I'm just here to remind you that I'm lifting your hands up. I'm holding your hands up. And I'm just here to tell you that I wouldn't have made it through those first 10 years without Bo and my wife. I wouldn't have. But because I had somebody lifting my hands up, I made it through something that I could have never have done on my own. And here's the thing. You need friends who can lift your hands up when you are having a highlight reel and you're on a winning streak, and you need friends who can lift your hands up when you're on a losing streak. You need friends who you can praise with and you can plunge with. Just say this. I need friends who I can praise with and I can plunge with. You didn't think you were going to say that in church today, I guarantee it. But God made it so that we don't just need him when we don't have enough. We need each other. And if you're like, I don't have anybody to lift my hands, I don't have anybody who can help me, listen, you're in a great place. That's what we do here. And we listen, I would, if you can put that next slide up here, I would just encourage you to download our Church Center app. And if you're like, I don't have anybody in my life who can help me walk through stuff, if you can throw up the next slide, if it's not, it might not be working, but yeah, download our Church Center app, and then go to one of three places if you need somebody to lift your hands up. Go to our join a group part of that app, where you can get involved in a Bay Shore group, people that will lift up your hands, or you can join a serve team, because your volunteer team becomes your people. So you can be a volunteer, but also have people around you, or go to Celebrate Recovery every Thursday night at 6:30. Those are your people. And here's the thing. We don't just go to church. We are the church. Listen, we are the family of God. We are each other's neighbors. And when our headlines are all bad news, listen, this is a great place to be. And you're surrounded by a great group of people who want to help lift your hands up. And here's the beautiful thing. God doesn't need us to just need him. He wants us to need each other. And when we pray for one another, when we love one another, when we lift the hands up of one another, God can start pouring in. He can start pouring in, and he can start pouring in, and he can keep pouring in, and he will never run out. He can go all day, every single day, just pouring in his goodness into us. And he fills us with love. He fills us with joy. He fills us with peace. He fills us with whatever we need, because he's a God who never runs out. He always has enough. And when we don't have enough, that's a great place to be, because we can go to him and he will never run out. Aren't you thankful for God? That's who God is.